Hello, YouTube. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. For this episode, we're going into the coven and checking out some cool Merciful Fate vinyl that I've picked up over the years. I actually thought I had done this video a long time ago, and flipping through the shelves the other day, I'm like, oh yeah, I've got all these kind of, different pressings and random bootlegs. That would be a good topic for a video, but wait, I already did that. But then when I double checked, I'm like, I don't think I ever got around to doing that. So here we go. If an episode similar to this is buried in my archive somewhere, sorry, there's probably a few things I've picked up since then to update the list. But yeah, it looks like this is one that kind of slipped through the cracks that I meant to do quite a while back. And yeah, some kind of just got buried along the way. So yeah, this is supposed to be my Merciful Fate vinyl collection. It's kind of random. It's by no means complete. I don't claim that it's the best collection or the largest collection or the most complete collection or anything like that. It's just a lot of random Merciful Fate vinyl. Merciful Fate, of course, kind of a touchstone band for a lot of folks. There's never been quite another project like it. May never be. A few bands, especially in recent years, have been trying to emulate that sound, but there's something about that particular classic Merciful Fate lineup that just can't be emulated, copied, duplicated, or replicated, in my opinion. Without further ado, let's go ahead and flip through these. Some of these I may have to stop and sort of check some of my personal liner notes about pressings and stuff. There's a stack of these. A lot of these are bootlegs and stuff. So yeah, I don't have every detail memorized about all of these things. Let's start with piece of 7-inch vinyl. Folks probably familiar with this. It's the Black Masses and Black Funeral 7-inch picture disc. This came out around 1983. There were a few of these done on the Megaforce label. There was also one done for Venom, which I used to have, and I don't anymore. Yeah, choices. But yeah, they never did a whole lot of them. Just kind of a cool one, good shot of King's face. Has, both those tracks. One of which, of course, was non-LP back at the time. You could only get it on the single. So there was also a 12-inch single version, I think, released in the UK. So yeah, kind of a cool way to get that. This I picked up a very long time ago off of eBay. We're talking like I want to say it was probably like around 98. Back when, yeah, eBay was very small and you could get things for a really good price because vinyl wasn't very popular at that time. All right, up next, one of the only reissues in the stack that I'll show, Return of the Vampire, kind of a classic collection of rarities and demos and stuff. But this is not an old copy. You can tell right away. It's just, one of the recent Metal Blade reissues of it. I picked it up because it was one of the only quote unquote old Merciful Fate things that I didn't have an original copy of. And since it's just a collection, I'm not really interested in paying some astronomical price tag to get an original of it. Well, the one I ended up with was on kind of a blue and black gray. I think it's called like blue slash smoky vinyl, which I'm fine with. I think it's kind of a cool color choice since it kind of matches the cover, since the cover's got that blue color scheme to it. Some people don't like colored vinyl. I'm absolutely fine with it. I've always thought it was kind of a neat gimmick. I'll admit it probably gets overdone a lot these days, but I didn't seek this out on blue vinyl. This is what one of the local stores had, and so that's the one I picked up. If you've never heard this collection, it's extremely good. It has some very early versions of a lot of Merciful Fate classics, but they have different titles, and the lyrics are very different in some cases. So it's a really neat collection to kind of hear those songs in the early stages of development. Now, one thing I will say that I'm a little disappointed about with the reissue here is that there are no liner notes or like insert with it. If you get an older pressing, at least my old CD pressing, the liner notes in the CD booklet have like a short description of like the song, the history of it. I think they're written by King Diamond, if I remember correctly. And so it gives you a few lines about, how the song was developing, um, maybe where they were recording it, why it got changed, stuff like that. And I've always found those liner notes really, really interesting. And again, kind of a good chance to get a glimpse at those early formative stages of Merciful Fate. I really wish they had duplicated those liner notes and included them on an insert or something with this. Not really sure why they wouldn't have been allowed to, but there may be some weird copyright thing. Seems a little odd that you could use the cover art and all the music, but that you couldn't use the short song descriptions that were included, on the original inner sleeve. Don't know, but it is something that's missing from that reissue. So, yeah, I'll definitely still be keeping my old CD copy for sure. Let's see. Next on the stack, and these are not in much of any type of order, so we'll just see what pops up. We've got a picture disc copy of In the Shadows. Now, this is a bootleg from around 2000. I think it's a UK bootleg on metallized blood. Let me double check that over here. Okay, I've got a lot of this stuff typed out over here, and it's a little easier to sometimes look for it on the spreadsheet rather than having to take everything in and out of the sleeves. But yeah, 2006 on Metallized Blood. So this, of course, is their comeback album. Very good one. Got them back on the map. People were very excited to see what they would do when they came back, and they delivered, a very good album. It's not one I play a ton, but I did not have a vinyl pressing of it. Found it at a record show in the past couple of years, and was like, yeah, sure. I understood it was a bootleg when I bought it. I'm okay with that kind of thing, especially at record shows. Up next, we've got another bootleg picture disc. Uh, this one, the art on the other side is relatively graphic. It's like a cartoon picture of King sitting on a chair with a bunch of nuns that are, of course, barely dressed. So there's a lot of boobs hanging out and stuff. I think we'll skip showing that. But yeah, it's also known as CUNT. It's spelled out with periods in between letters. So it's like C period, U period, N period, T period on the other side. So yeah, not that this is monetized in the first place, but still, we'll just pass on that. Apparently there are 500 copies. This is number 128. But yeah, this is a live show from 1982 in Copenhagen. Let's see, when does this picture disc boot came out? This came out in 2012, so not an especially old one. I guess at this point it's about 12 years. And let's see, the Copenhagen show is from, I believe it's October 5th, 1982. Now, one thing I have noticed with, live recordings, and I've pointed this out in some other videos, yeah, European countries tend to switch the month and the date when they write out the date for something. So, I'm reading this 10/5/82 to mean October 5th, 1982. There's a chance that the person who wrote this might have meant that it was the 10th day of May 1982. Um, so yeah, that's a thing that can happen. Anyway, it's got decent sound quality for a live bootleg picture disc. When you get something like this, you can't expect it to sound like, Metallica's 72 Seasons in terms of sonic clarity and all that. They're just not going to sound that way. If that bothers you, that's fine. It's not the kind of thing for you to pick up. Uh, when I find these things, if they're a reasonable price, I don't mind picking them up because I like that early Merciful Fate material quite a bit. And again, the band didn't last very long. You had two albums, an EP, a single. There's not a lot of material there to hear. So I don't mind getting some of these live shows, even if the sound quality is not great, just to hear different takes on those early tracks. Another one, yet another live boot picture disc. And some of these I may have shown in an old collection update or something, so it may not be the first time you've seen them. One thing with this is this particular piece of art is associated with a lot of different Merciful Fate bootleg items. So if you're collecting these or looking for some of these, if you see this image on the cover or on the picture disc, you got to kind of check the details closely because it might be a very different recording than something you've already got that has the same artwork. So yeah, that's annoying and fun and exactly the kind of thing that, makes people steer away from bootlegs that Yeah, they can kind of drive you crazy that way. This one is a live show and it's recorded March 26th, 1982, also a Copenhagen show. So we've got that one. All right, now for some non-bootleg stuff. This is pretty straightforward. It's an old copy of Merciful Fate's In the Beginning collection. This is the old Road Racer pressing. Nice copy. I got this in a used record store ages ago. It does have a gigantic hole punch mark in the cover, but it doesn't affect the vinyl any. This collection, if you're not familiar with it, is pretty straightforward, but still kind of cool. The A side is the original EP. It has all four tracks from that, so the A side's very straightforward. The B side has three tracks that the band recorded for the BBC in the UK. So again, they would always let bands kind of come in and do these short recording sessions. And so yeah, side B has their BBC session of Curse of the Pharaohs, Evil, and Satan's Fall. A lot of times bands would do four songs on those BBC recordings, at least the ones I'm used to from the new wave of British heavy metal. Satan's Fall is so long they might have counted that as two tracks and said you guys only get three. I don't know for sure. But that's what that is. So you get kind of, different takes of those three tracks. And then the last track is Black Masses, which was the single exclusive version. Black Funeral was an LP, but Black Masses was non-LP. So especially for its time, it was a pretty cool collection. Not a lot of people had the EP. You really didn't have another way to get those BBC tracks. I'm guessing those maybe showed up on a compilation or something somewhere. Not really sure what was done with those. And you get the B-side from the single. So a cool collection for In the Beginning. All right, next we've got the original EP, but we've got it in a bootleg picture disc form. This is another one of the metallized blood uh, bootleg picture discs. Pretty straightforward. I just picked it up because I love the EP. We'll see a couple more copies of it here in a moment. And again, when these things turn up locally, I'm okay getting them. I don't really scour the internet looking for that kind of item. I'm not checking Discogs trying to see has a boot copy kind of slipped through and gotten listed. I've picked a couple up on eBay from time to time, but again, it's got to be something where I just kind of stumble into it and I feel the price is reasonable. I'm not a huge bootleg collector and I'm not going to pay astronomical prices for them either. But yeah, if I find one in the wild, price is all right and it's something I'm interested in, sure, let's pick that up and check it out. All right, up next, we've got first pressing of the EP. The first pressing has this white border that goes all the way around the cover, so it's pretty easy to spot. It did originally come with a lyric insert, and this copy has that, of course. Uh, Classic recording. Folks are familiar with it. Four great songs. Three of them are, absolutely killer in my opinion. Devil Eyes would be the fourth out of the four. Nothing wrong with Devil Eyes. But yeah, the other three tracks are, among Fate's best. All right, the second press of the EP. See, it doesn't have the white border here. It's got a black border. Why did they change the border color between pressings? I have no idea. You'd like to think it's because, well, this lets people tell them apart. And maybe that was the reason. Man, I've had nothing to do with it. I don't know. Now, the second pressing also came with a lyric insert. My copy does not have it. It had it when I bought it, but someone I knew didn't have a copy of the lyric insert at all. And so I was like, you know what? I've got inserts with both my copies. Uh, hell with it. Here, you take an insert. Now we both have one. So gifted that to somebody to help them have a complete copy on theirs. Uh, the first and second pressings, I'm not sure where I got each one. One of them I got from a vinyl dealer in New York back around 99 or yeah, it must have been early 99. He was kind of liquidating a lot of stuff. The other one, I have no idea where I got it. I'd have to dig through my notes and try to figure that out. Up next, we've got a picture disc of Melissa. And this is one of those picture discs. These were done on Combat, where you have, the cover art just kind of set in a square rather than blown up to fill the entire picture disc. Um, I've never been sure how I feel about that. They look kind of cool laid out this way. Uh, we'll give them that. At the same time, the picture discs are usually meant to emphasize the artwork, so it is a little weird having, the dead space around the four sides. But it also means that the cover art sometimes gets clipped in funny ways when you try to put the art and have it fill the disc. So I'm not sure. It's just one of those weird relics of how these were made. And there are a few different ones, that you've seen this way. We'll see the other Merciful Fate album in a bit. Slayer's Hell Awaits is done on this kind of picture disc also. This one, some of these were numbered and some of these weren't. This one is stamped with a number of 87. Not really sure how many were made because, again, some were numbered and some were not numbered. Some may say that limited edition picture disc and not have a serial number after it. So, whatever. I've never been somebody who's fussed about, oh, I have to have like the lowest number possible, or I have to have the last number in the sequence. It's the exact same item. It's just the little number stamps on it. It doesn't change the music. You don't get a bonus track. King Diamond's not going to come sing the album for me in a private concert because I got number one. If you're into that kind of thing, cool, nothing wrong with it. But it's not something I stress about at all or seek out. But yeah, I got the Merciful Fate picture disc. Again, older purchase. Those were relatively cheap. Yeah, 15, 20 years ago, vinyl was still very, very cheap on eBay and other markets. People now are so used to vinyl having been astronomically priced for a while that they forget. If you go back just like 2008, 2009, 2010, you could get a lot of these kind of things, for literally just dollars. Nobody was buying it. You don't have to go all the way back, to the primordial age of dinosaurs to get a good deal on vinyl. You could get them in 2010. Next up, got regular pressing of Melissa. This one I got because I thought I might put it up on the wall. I have some of the covers of my favorite album art framed, but this one's never made it onto the wall. This cover always threw me off for a long time because when I just had the original cassette, and here's a reason that J cards stink, couldn't see the artwork very well. So this to me always looked like a couple of long red bones, like leg bones. And this again kind of looked like the end of maybe like, a femur or something. So I thought it was like a bunch of bones, bathed in like some kind of red light. I never could figure out what the background blackish stuff was at all. So of course, once I got it on, saw a larger picture of it for the first time, like, oh, it's like a screaming skeleton thing with evil red light. Well, sure, anybody can see that if you have a nice big picture of it to see. This pressing, by the way, does have the original inner sleeve with it. And we've got this one is a old Roadrunner pressing. So the Merciful Fate stuff, of course, there's different pressings from different territories. I don't have that kind of stuff. I'm not going to show you 5 copies of Melissa. Like, here's the bonsai pressing, here's the Japanese pressing. Uh, those kind of things I might would pick up if I stumbled upon them for the right price. But I think the days of finding those kind of things for a decent price are pretty much over. Next up, we've got Don't Break the Oath, but no cover with this one because it's framed up on the wall. I wasn't going to take it down. But yeah, this one is not Roadrunner. This one is the old green Combat label pressing. One of the best heavy metal albums ever recorded. Not much else to say about that. And like again, just for an example, I got that copy around 2012 or 2013, bought it off eBay. It was 15 bucks. And I bought it specifically because I wanted the cover on the wall when I moved into this particular location. That's all there was to it. So, yeah. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm checking recording setting here, just making sure all is good. We'll have to pause this for 1 second, so there might be a slight glitch in the recording. All right, apologies for that. Had to check on something real quick. Got a few more of these to go. Uh, Up next, we've got the picture disc version of Don't Break the Oath. And this one, you can see that, yeah, it has the limited edition picture disc on the vinyl, but there is no number with it. So again, how many are really made? No way to know unless the original archives are still around somewhere. So this one's combat pressing. Uh, like this one quite a bit. This was the first piece of Merciful Fate vinyl that I ever bought. I was a little late to Merciful Fate in my heavy metal collecting stuff. I'd gotten into King Diamond in college. My buddy Matt was a huge King Diamond fan. I had heard King Diamond before. Unfortunately, the only thing I had heard by King Diamond, my introduction to King Diamond originally was the No Presents Till Christmas song. That didn't exactly inspire me to run out and, start looking for copies of Abigail and Them or anything. I'd see the records at record stores and record shows, but I'm just like, yeah, that's the Christmas dude. No thanks. But yeah, Matt helped me correct course on that. So I started checking out a lot of the King Diamond stuff while in college, but didn't hear much of the Merciful Fate stuff at all. Again, people were excited when In the Shadows came out. And so I said, oh yeah, this is King Diamond's band before he did King Diamond. But that was kind of it. For whatever reason, the area I was living in, everybody was a King, Diamond nut. There were lots of folks who were really into his solo stuff, but people didn't really talk about the Merciful Fate stuff. So I didn't get into them until a few years later. Saw this sitting again, went into local record store in Texas, saw this sitting there. The guy that ran the store was really cool. He was kind of putting out some of his old personal collection on the shelves to sell from time to time. And so yeah, this was sitting there. It was like 20 bucks. I'm just like, I've never heard that album, but I'm buying that picture disc because that just looks awesome. And yeah, of course, the rest is history. Took it home, put it on, and the vinyl, needle hits the first few grooves of A Dangerous Meeting. The hair literally was starting to stand up on my arms. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is going to be the good stuff. So cool old picture disc of that one. All right, these last three are some older bootlegs that are a little complicated. All three of these were put out by a label called Satan's Nightmare. They've always been billed as fan club editions. To be very clear, the fan club edition has always been a nice way of saying bootleg. Unofficial, not really allowed whatsoever. And, at least for a long time, King Diamond would refuse to autograph copies of these if people brought them to him because he's like, that's not an official item. Sorry. Not to be a dick, but I'm not signing bootleg stuff. So at the same time, it's a little weird because I know Marty has mentioned that, he found his copies of these on cassette in like a chain store, a Camelot music store. So it's kind of weird that they got that kind of distribution. But hey, it was the mid 1980s. I think these came out originally around 86 or so. Uh, who knows how they got into the Camelot distribution? I have no idea. Can't explain it. Weird stuff happened sometimes with distribution centers back then. Anyway, there's three of these that were done on Satan's Nightmare. The first one is called Live from the Depths of Hell. Kind of like the cover art. They actually did come up, with kind of a cool concept for the cover. Yeah, and this is a live recording. I don't think it says right on the cover, yeah, what it is or anything. Sound is okay. It's not amazing. It's what you'd kind of expect from a, bootleg vinyl LP made in the mid 80s. But was for a long time, one of the few vinyl artifacts you could get to hear the band live. Okay, so nothing too complicated there. Then the second one on Satan's Nightmare is this one, which is called Curse of the Pharaohs. This one was always kind of cool because it was a picture of King not in costume, no makeup, no robes or capes or any of that stuff, just sunglasses and kind of hanging out with the rest of the band. This one's also really cool because it includes, again, early takes of a lot of classic Merciful Fate tracks, but some of them have different titles, different lyrics. And there's a few tracks on here that at least at that time, were completely exclusive. They never made it onto collections like In the Beginning or Return of the Vampire. I'm sure by this point they've been added to something somewhere on some kind of reissue or some kind of, big anthology set. But yeah, tracks like what is there? There's one called Combat Zone. There's one called Love Criminals. So yeah, tracks that you did not hear anywhere back in the day. So yeah, I always liked this one quite a bit. I've owned a couple of copies of this one. A lot of copies of this one you'll see seem to have cover dings, and since the cover is black on the top and bottom, it shows wear really easy. So yeah, I've gone through a couple of copies to get one that's really nice. But it's a very good demo collection. The sound quality is actually very good on it overall. It's one I will take out and play pretty regularly because I do like those takes and the sound is fine. All right, last item, and where this Satan's Nightmare set gets kind of complicated is there's a picture disc version. Um, the picture disc is kind of odd. So one side has the art from the Live from the Depths of Hell that I just showed. But this side includes half of the demo tracks from the Curse of the Pharaohs vinyl that I just showed. Right? Now, meanwhile, the flip side has that same picture from the Curse of the Pharaohs uh, compilation they did. But this side has several of the live songs from the Live from the Depths of Hell album they did. This drives me nuts. And I've seen, some small labels and, boot pressings and stuff will do this kind of thing. And again, it's like, Jesus Christ, can you not have at least this much quality control? I realize you're just kind of a ripoff in the first place, but still, honor among thieves or something? I don't know. But if you're going to split it, put the live songs on the side with the live artwork from the live album that you released and put the demo songs on the side with the demo album artwork that you released. It's not that complicated. It just can't be. Another thing that's a little weird with the picture disc version is the track list for the, let's see, it's side one. These are the demo tracks that are on the other side of the album. This is not the right track list whatsoever. For example, track one is, when you actually play the record, is Return of the Vampire. It's not Black Masses. And there's some other mistakes in the track listing as well. So yeah, that's a thing that happened too. Last thing to mention with the picture disc, which again I got from a different location years later. It came with this. It's a postcard with the artwork in it. I have no idea if this is an old thing that came with it originally, if this was something that whoever was behind Satan's Nightmare included, or if this is some more recent, random item that somebody had just stuck in here and it came along with the record. Yeah, I've seen some postcards done later on. I have some Misfits postcards that were made like in the mid to late 90s that have like the Beware cover art and stuff on them. They're obviously not from the time that Beware was originally released. So yeah, I don't know if this is a more recent thing. It's pretty glossy and pretty good shape. So my guess is that it's something that was made later. If it's actually came with the original picture disc from the mid 80s, it's in extremely good condition. So regardless, it's just kind of a cool thing that's sitting in there with it. All right, and that gets us to the end of the Merciful Fate vinyl pile. So now let's talk metal in the comments down below. What other cool Merciful Fate vinyl artifacts do you own? Again, my pile's not particularly huge here, nowhere near being complete. Are there any odd pressings that you've picked up over time that you really like? Especially if they have, different track lists or rare tracks, unreleased stuff, things that were hard to get, at least back in the day before the internet put everything at our fingertips. If you've got stuff like that, leave a comment down below so folks can find out about it. Might be something they want to add to their want lists. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode. Until next time, everybody take care, and as always, keep banging your head.